All right, let's dive in. We're tackling Captain Earth today, and I've got some really cool academic analysis to guide us.
Oh, this will be fun.
So we're going to break down what makes this anime stand out, dig into those juicy themes, and of course, get to know the characters.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so imagine this. You're trying to figure out who you are, like what your place in the world is.
Right. Classic teenage dilemma.
But here's the twist. You're also piloting a giant robot against alien invaders. Welcome to Captain Earth.
And you know what's really interesting about this anime is it's not just about those big robot fights. There's actually a lot of depth to it. Like we're talking about identity, human connection, even a bit of a clash between science and mysticism.
Okay, so not just mindless action then. There's like actual substance.
Oh, absolutely. Tons of it.
Yeah.
And that clash between science and mysticism, well, it gets pretty wild. We've got these aliens. They're called the Kilt Gang.
Okay, Kilt Gang. I'm listening.
And they're after this thing called libido.
Wait, libido. Like,
No, not in the Freudian sense. We're talking about human life energy here. The Kilt Gang, they believe it's the key to, immortality.
Whoa, hold on. They're harvesting human life energy for immortality. Seriously.
Seriously. And the analysis actually suggests this whole immortality thing, it's not just about living forever for them. It's about fear of extinction. They see humans as this, source of life energy, and they think if they could just absorb it, they'll survive. It makes you think about our own relationship with death, What will we do to avoid it?
I mean, it's a pretty dark take on immortality. So we've got these complex aliens who want to live forever, but what about the humans fighting back? Who are our heroes in this whole mess?
Well, at the center of it all, we have Daichi Manatsu. Starts out as your average high schooler. Friends, family, the usual teenage struggles. But then, bam, his world flips upside down when he's thrown into this, intergalactic conflict, and he becomes Captain Earth, pilot of the Earth engine.
Whoa, talk about a glow-up. Average teen to intergalactic hero, that's quite the journey.
It is. And the analysis, it really highlights this classic coming-of-age story. You see Daichi go from feeling lost, like he doesn't have a purpose, to stepping up and becoming this, protector of humanity. A big responsibility. And to make things even more complicated, he actually inherits this mission and the Earth engine technology from his late father.
Talk about pressure. Losing a parent A&D trying to save the world. That's a lot.
It's a heavy load, and it really adds this whole other layer to his character.
So there's obviously a lot more to Captain Earth than meets the eye. But, he can't fight this whole battle alone, right? What about the people by his side?
You're absolutely right. Daichi's got a crew, and they're not just sidekicks. They're fully fleshed out characters who bring their own, everything to the table. They support him. They support each other. Their relationships, that's actually a huge part of what makes this show so engaging.
Okay, now I'm really curious. So who are these awesome sidekicks? Give me the rundown.
Well, we've got Takuya Igarashi. Now, he adds a whole new dimension to the team because he's actually, get this, part Kilt Gang.
Whoa, hold up. Part Kilt Gang, talk about an internal conflict. That's got to be tough, being caught between two worlds like that.
Exactly. And the analysis dives into that. It's like he embodies that struggle with identity. It's something that a lot of people can relate to, right?
Yeah.
Feeling like you don't belong, like you're caught between different groups, different expectations.
Yeah, that definitely resonates. Feeling like an outsider. So Teppei's dealing with that, battling aliens and trying to, figure out where he fits in. What about the others? Who else is in this crew?
All right, next up we have Hanamutu. She's a bit of a mystery. Quiet, but strong. Fiercely loyal to her friends. And she has this, strange connection to a spacecraft called the Bloom.
A mysterious spacecraft. Okay, and now I'm really intrigued. Bloom. Gotta remember that.
Right. And the Bloom, it's a big deal in this universe. Source of advanced tech, plays a huge role in fighting the Kilt Gang. The analysis, it suggests the Bloom actually represents a connection to, a higher power, something beyond our understanding, but essential to humanity's survival.
Whoa, so it's not just some cool spaceship, it's symbolic.
Exactly, there's a deeper meaning there.
All right, so we've got the conflicted one, the mysterious one. There's gotta be someone to keep things light, right?
Of course. Can't forget the comic relief. That's where Akari Yomatsuri comes in. She's the energy, the optimism, always there to lift everyone's spirits.
Ah, the heart of the team. I love it. Gotta have someone like that when you're, facing an existential threat.
For sure. And, that's one of the things the analysis really praises about Captain Earth.
Yeah.
It's not just about the action, the spectacle.
Yeah.
It gives you these characters you can connect with. They're flawed, relatable, Even the antagonists?
Wait, even the villains? You're telling me the Kill Gang, they're not just mindless, evil aliens?
Not exactly.
Yeah.
The analysis points out that, while they're definitely the antagonist, they're driven by this very basic instinct, survival. Not necessarily evil, just doing what they think they need to do to, well, exist.
So it's not as simple as good versus evil, then?
Nope. It's more nuanced than that. And that's what makes it so interesting. It challenges those typical mecha tropes. But one thing it definitely doesn't skimp on, those awesome, visually stunning action sequences, especially when it comes to the Earth engine.
Okay, now we're talking. Tell me more about this Earth engine. What makes it so visually awesome?
Well, first off, the design is incredible. Sleek, powerful, really striking. But it goes deeper than that. The design is symbolic, too. It's not just a machine. It represents, like, humanity's hope, our resilience in the face of danger.
I love that. It's not just a cool robot, it's a symbol of the human spirit.
Exactly. And this whole idea of the Earth engine's energy source, the Live-Laster, that plays into this symbolism, too. The Live-Laster, it actually draws power from human emotions, specifically the bonds between people.
So it's saying that our connections, our ability to care for each other, that's what makes humanity strong.
That's the idea.
Wow. That's like seriously deep. So we've got complex characters, this whole nuanced good versus evil thing, amazing visuals, and a giant robot powered by human connection.
You got it.
You've definitely piqued my interest, but come on, no anime is perfect. Is there anything in the analysis that, like, criticizes the show?
You're right, no anime is perfect. And Captain Earth definitely has its flaws.
Yeah.
The analysis, it points out that the pacing can be a bit uneven. Like some episodes feel rushed while others drag on a bit.
So it's like a roller coaster, huh? Some sudden drops, some flat stretches.
Exactly. And sometimes, the world building is great, but it can feel a bit overwhelming, especially if you're new to mecha anime. There's a lot thrown at you at once.
Yeah, I can see that. Like drinking from a fire hose, maybe. Too much at once.
Kinda. But for those who are willing to, really dive in, it's a rich world. And even with those flaws, Captain Earth still manages to tell a really compelling story. It's about self-discovery, about human connection, and about protecting what we care about.
I'm hearing a lot of good things, even with the pacing issues and the info dumps, but let's dig into those relationships a bit more. You said they really make the show special. How so? We're talking about teenagers piloting giant robots. It sounds more like, I don't know, action movie friendship, not deep emotional bonds.
But see, that's where Captain Earth subverts expectations. It's not just about fighting together, it's about the emotional support they give each other. Think about it, they're dealing with the fate of humanity, plus all the usual teenage stuff on top of that.
Okay, yeah. It's like a pressure cooker of saving the world, forces them to be vulnerable and rely on each other.
Exactly. And that vulnerability is key. The analysis even talks about how each character has their own baggage. Like, Daichi's dealing with his father's legacy, Teppei's caught between two worlds, Hana's got this mysterious past. They could easily just shut down, but they choose to open up to each other instead.
Wow, that's powerful. So it's not just about, like, blowing up aliens, it's about finding strength in those shared experiences, being human, being vulnerable. Are there any specific examples of how those bonds play out in the story?
Yeah, there's this one scene where Daichi, he's just totally overwhelmed by being Captain Earth, and he breaks down in front of Teppei. Now, in your typical mecha anime, this would be the time for a pep talk.
Right.
A reminder about duty, about being a hero. But here, Teppei, he just listens. He doesn't offer solutions or try to fix it. He just, is there.
That's a really interesting contrast, a quieter kind of heroism. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is just be there for someone.
Right. And it makes their relationship feel so much more real. And this whole focus on human connection, it highlights the contrast with the Kill Gang. Remember, their whole thing is individual survival, even if it means hurting others. They're after that human life energy, the libido, not just to live longer, but to, evolve beyond needing connection.
So it's like they're a warped reflection of humanity, driven by the same fears, but their approach is, well, a little messed up.
For sure. There's definitely a message there about what happens when you put your own desires above everything else. The Kill Gang, they've got all this advanced tech, but they seem, empty. They don't have that warmth, that human connection.
That's a great point. It makes their quest for immortality seem kind of sad, like they're chasing something they don't really understand.
Exactly. And the analysis even suggests that this obsession with libido comes from the fact that they can't really experience emotions the way humans do. They see our capacity for love, grief, joy, even anger as a source of power. They want it, but they can't grasp it.
Wow, that adds a whole other layer to their motivations. They're not just villains, they're like yearning for something they can't have. It makes
Hmm.
you think about what true immortality really means.
Right. Is it just about living longer? Or is it about the impact we have on others, the memories we leave behind?
This is getting deep. I mean, they've taken this genre, giant robots, explosions, and made it philosophical. But speaking of giant robots, we've talked about the Earth Engine's design, the symbolism, but what about its actual capabilities? What makes it so cool, robot-wise?
Well, the Earth engine, it's not just pretty to look at, it's a technological marvel. The analysis highlights its unique weaponry, like
Right.
the Kiboto's Buster. This is this powerful energy cannon that draws on like all the Earth engine systems at once.
Okay, that sounds pretty badass, but is there anything about its technology that connects back to those, like, deeper themes?
Oh, absolutely. Remember how we talked about the Live Laster and how it's powered by human connection? Well, the analysis gets into the specifics of how it works. And it's not just about raw power, it's about harmony, balance. The pilots, they need to be in sync, emotionally and mentally, for the Live Laster to work at its full potential.
So it's like a metaphor for teamwork. You need trust, understanding, not just individual strength.
Right. And this connection between the Earth engine and its pilots, it goes even deeper than that. There's this system called the Machine Good Fellowship. Basically, the Earth engine, it responds to the pilot's emotions. The stronger their bonds, the more powerful it becomes.
Well, hold on. So the more connected the pilots are, the stronger the robot gets. That's pretty cool. It's like the robot is literally a reflection of their relationship.
Exactly. And it ties back to that idea that humanity's true strength is in our connections, our ability to support each other, to, overcome our differences.
It's like they took the classic powerful robot trope and gave it a heart, a human heart. But the analysis also mentions those flaws, particularly with the pacing. What specific examples does it give?
Well, one criticism is that they spend a lot of time on world building,
Yeah.
which, is interesting, but it can slow down the story. Like there's a whole episode that dives into the Kill Gang's history, their relationship with another alien race. It's cool, but it doesn't directly affect the main plot.
Right, so it's like taking a detour on a road trip. You might see something cool, but it throws off your schedule.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes this focus on side stories, it means the main character's emotional arcs don't get as much attention. The analysis suggests that some of those emotional moments could have been given more space so the audience can really connect.
Yeah, I get that. If you're constantly getting new info, new plots, it's harder to get invested in the characters. But even with the pacing issues, you seem to be saying that there's still a lot to love about Captain Earth.
Oh, absolutely. It's ambitious, it tackles big themes, pushes the boundaries of the genre, and even if it's not always perfect, it has moments of brilliance, fantastic animation, and some really touching moments between characters.
You've definitely got me curious. It sounds like Captain Earth offers a really unique take on the mecha genre. But before we wrap things up, there's one question I've been wondering about. The analysis mentions that Captain Earth has, like, a mixed reception among anime fans. Why do you think that is? What makes it so divisive?
That's a good question. Part of it might be those pacing issues we talked about. Some viewers, they might find those slower moments, the ones focused on world building or character stuff, a bit too, well, slow. They might want more action, a more straightforward story.
So it's not for the viewer who just wants to see robots fighting, right?
Right. Captain Earth, it asks a bit more of the audience. It wants you to think, to feel, to really engage with those themes. And that's not what everyone's looking for in an anime.
Yeah, it's like different strokes for different folks, right? Some people want a summer blockbuster, others want an art film. But even for those who like a more, thoughtful anime, what else might contribute to that mixed reception?
The ending might be another factor. I don't want to give too much away, but it's not your typical happy ending. It leaves some things open, some questions unanswered. And that ambiguity can be frustrating for viewers who want a clear resolution, a nice tied-up ending.
So it's not a show that gives you all the answers. It leaves you thinking even after it's over.
Exactly. And that's part of what makes it so interesting. It doesn't give you easy answers. It lets you draw your own conclusions, reflect on the themes and characters even after you finished watching.
I like that. It's cool when a show trusts the audience to, like, think for themselves, figure things out. It sounds like Captain Earth is the kind of show that rewards those who put in the effort, who think critically.
Definitely. It's a show that stays with you, makes you think about identity, connection, the meaning of life even. And in a genre that's often all about, spectacle, that's pretty special.
Well, you've convinced me. Captain Earth is officially on my to-watch list. It sounds like it has a lot to offer, both intellectually and emotionally. And for our listeners, if you're looking for an anime that will challenge you, make you think, and maybe even move you, Captain Earth might be right up your alley.
And remember, it's not just about the giant robots and the aliens. It's about the human stories at the core of it all. The struggles, the triumphs, the connections.
Well said. That's a perfect way to put it.
Hmm.
So to all our listeners out there, if you're ready for a journey of self-discovery, if you're ready to explore the depths of human connection, then set your course for Captain Earth.
And ask yourself this. If you were in Daichi's shoes, thrust into this world of giant robots and alien threats, how would you handle it? How would you navigate the complexities of identity, responsibility, and fighting for what you believe in? Would you embrace those bonds of friendship, or would you give in to the temptation of power, of self-preservation?
And that's our deep dive for today, folks. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of Captain Earth. Hope you found it insightful, interesting, maybe even a little inspiring. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
You mentioned earlier that Captain Earth explores this clash between science and mysticism. Can you elaborate on that? Like, how does that play out in the story?
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. You've got, on one hand, all this advanced technology, the Earth engine, the Live Laster. It's all very scientific, very cutting edge.
Right, like futuristic science fiction.
But at the same time, you have these mystical elements. The bloom, Hana's powers, even the Kilt Gang's connection to human libido. It all points towards something beyond our scientific understanding. So it's like blending science fiction with fantasy.
Exactly. And the analysis suggests that this blend is intentional. It's trying to show that maybe science and mysticism aren't so different after all. Maybe they're just different ways of understanding the same, like, fundamental truths of the universe.
That's an interesting thought. So it's not about picking sides. It's about seeing how those two perspectives, science and mysticism, how they can coexist.
Right. And the show doesn't offer any easy answers, which is kind of cool. It leaves it up to the viewer to decide how those two worlds intersect.
I like that. It makes you think. So we've talked about the complex themes, the characters, the visuals, but for someone who's never seen Captain Earth, what would you say is the one thing they should know going in?
That's a tough one. But I'd say be prepared to be challenged. Captain Earth, it's not a passive watch. It asks questions, it makes you think, it might even make you uncomfortable at times, but that's a good thing. It means it's doing its job.
So it's not a show to just have on in the background while you're doing something else.
Probably not. It's the kind of show that deserves your full attention.
Makes sense. You've definitely made me curious to check it out. But before we go, any final thoughts on Captain Earth? Anything you want our listeners to ponder?
Just this. Think about what it means to be human. Think about the connections we form, the choices we make, the impact we have on each other. And then ask yourself, if you were faced with the same challenges as Daichi and his crew, how would you respond? Would you rise to the occasion, or would you crumble under the pressure?
That's a great question, one that we can all think about, even if we're not battling aliens and giant robots. Well, folks, that wraps up our deep dive on Captain Earth. Thanks for joining us on this journey of exploration.
Always a pleasure.
And remember, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep. See you